What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down why tomorrow is going to be a very important day as we have CPI coming out and give you guys a very important warning about it. I'm also going to be talking about what's going on with the news involving Tesla stock. Before I break anything down, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 6 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks plus 6 months of level 2 data. And putting in $25,000 or more guarantees you 70 free stocks plus 12 months of level 2 data. The offer ends in just about 7 days from now, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. Looking at the market, we're seeing SPY and QQQ rip to the upside, holding up quite decently, but Tesla has been relatively weak because of some bad news that just came out. So I'm going to break down what this news was, also give you guys a warning about tomorrow and how this could still affect Tesla stock and the market. So what's going on with the markets? Well, we only have a couple of hours left for trading for today. I just want to warn you guys that this is going to be your last chance to exit any positions, okay? Because of the fact that we have CPI coming out tomorrow, 1 hour before the market opens. So if you want to hold overnight through CPI data, which is going to cause the market to either gap up or gap down big time, that's your choice. And it could be kind of risky. If you want to basically not do that, if you want to just play it safe and exit positions, you have an opportunity. Your last chance is going to be, at least for most people out there, depending on your brokerage, your last chance is most likely going to be at in just a couple of hours from right now until market close. So once again, before market open on Tuesday, we have all this data coming out, the CPI report, the core CPI. So we'll be watching for that, and that's pretty much it, at least for the time being. Make sure you guys are ready. Now, looking at the markets, I just want to remind you all that we're seeing SPY holding up quite nicely. You're seeing Tesla holding up. The market's still holding up, and the thing is, let me actually go back to trading view. Sorry, I had a little issue with Webull. Basically, SPY and the QQQ are holding up, but Tesla's been kind of weak alongside some other tech stocks. It has a lot to do with the news that came out in some technicals. So why is Tesla down a bit? What's going on with it? There's some news that came out in the morning. They're saying that Tesla's cutting prices again in a different way. They're not literally cutting prices, but they're looking at the incentives for the next Tesla vehicles. They could basically get another $4,000 off several Model Y vehicles plus 6 months of free supercharging. The charging benefit can be worth about $900 or more. And the total incentives amount to about 8% of transaction prices. That's actually very different from what we saw at about 5% back in October. So that's once again just showing us that the incentive levels would keep going up and up. And with that happening, this is some big news for Tesla because this is actually kind of like feeding into some of their margins. This is what they're basically talking about, and this has led to some concerns. Now, the reason why Tesla is doing this is because this is what the article is saying. They're saying that Tesla is trying to push demand for the end of the year. One thing that's concerning is that we have these high interest rates, and this makes it a lot more difficult for Tesla to add to more expenditures. So Tesla's trying to bring demand up by providing more incentives to sell the cars, for people to buy them, for more of these buyers to step in and just get excited about Tesla. But this has led to some concerns. I'm actually seeing articles saying that, especially like Bernstein's and many other analysts, that Tesla can now drop 38% as its growth narrative will slam into weakening demand. So this is what they're saying. I'm not saying this, guys. It's just what the article is saying. Um, with them saying this, with them now downgrading Tesla, saying it has 38% downside coming, a $150 price target, most stocks will drop if there's news like this that just came out. And that's what ended up happening to Tesla. They're talking about how there's going to be more narrow demand. The demand problems are just getting worse. And they're saying that the EV maker would have to keep on cutting prices to stay competitive. Unfortunately, guys, there is truth behind that in a way where that is what Tesla is technically doing. They've been continuing to give more incentives, free charging, feeding into their margins, more and more of these other write-offs. It's just insane what Tesla has to do to try to get demand up, but it's not Tesla's fault. We can't hate Tesla for it. It has more to do with the macroeconomic factors affecting the economy. So is Bernstein correct about these things hurting Tesla and Tesla having to cut prices and such? Yes, they are correct about that technically, but does that mean Tesla has to drop 38%? No, that's not a guarantee just yet. I wouldn't necessarily believe it just yet. I'd have to wait and see how time goes on, also see how the next earnings goes and etc. Tesla's not even below 200 right now. We're still at 238. So let's not worry about it coming all the way down to 150 just yet. I want to see Tesla lose 200 first before I make a claim like that. So I'm going to be just taking it like one step at a time because once again, the market could be very, very unpredictable and kind of crazy. Tesla's still very close to 240. It's not that far from where we were like on Friday, so it's not necessarily the end of the world. There's also some news involving Elon Musk to eliminate the funding secured consequences. That was his like Twitter post about taking Tesla private. And now the fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, based in New Orleans, has decided to reconsider its decision in March. We're going to be watching to see how this affects Elon Musk and etc. And he's still continuing to appeal with other decisions that were just going on. So we'll see how this goes. We're waiting for that as well. And I think that there's more news coming out because we're now starting to see Musk get involved with the unions, and now litigation is just continuing. So it's pretty much just a mess. Some good news about Tesla would be the fact that Tesla's taking the number two spot in China's overall NEV market. So that's good news for them. This is basically a new energy vehicle sector. So Tesla's still actually doing decently in China. Numbers are still not looking too bad, especially when I showed you guys those last week. So we'll be watching to see how this goes for them. Now let's talk about the stocks real quick. How is Tesla looking? We're testing 240's resistance. We had this consolidation. I thought Tesla would hold up and kind of consolidate before breaking out, maybe possibly after CPI. But we ended up breaking below because of all this bad news that came out. So now that Tesla's right here, watch 240's resistance, watch 242. It's not that bad, guys. We were just here on the 7th of December. Just 4 days ago, Tesla was right here before it came back up. It is not dead whatsoever. It's not that big of a deal. It is below the yellow trend line, which is a little concerning, but don't worry because we have CPI coming out, and we'll see if CPI can actually help this come back into this wedge, try to break back up. So watch 240 and 242 as resistance. It's not that far from where this breakdown was. It could try to still make its way back up. Uh, if we lose 238, that's where I would be a little bit more concerned, and that's when we could start coming back down to like 233. There is a chance Tesla could try to break back into this wedge. CPI will likely launch the market higher, in my opinion. But just to be safe, okay, I can't promise that since I'm not really a fortune teller. I do think there's a good chance of that happening, and I do favor that greatly. But just to be safe, make sure you watch your levels. So Tesla's kind of chopping in this 240 area, could try to break back into this wedge, so we'll be watching that very carefully. As far as SPY goes, I want to call out SPY now. SPY to me is looking pretty bullish. We saw this thing break out very nicely. I was talking about this trend line acting as support as SPY has held this. I told you if we broke below this, expect some downside. We actually held it. If we broke above this, we would see this thing push. We're approaching this 462 resistance. I think this thing is going to go all the way up to 467 over the next 1 to 2 weeks. I think there's more upside coming. It could even go up to 467 tomorrow, but that's going to depend on CPI. I'll be talking more about CPI in my later video, my final video for the day, and I'll break down some numbers. If you want to see the numbers right now and the data on CPI, I can actually show you what I predicted. I made a video about this over the weekend on Saturday, so look for my Saturday video about the Tuesday squeeze. If you see that, you could see what I'm about to say about CPI. I think I favored the upside for the markets after CPI. We'll be watching to see what the data suggests. I don't know for sure, but I do favor it based off the data I saw, and I'll talk about that later on today. Once again, you could see it in my previous video as well. The QQQ hit this support and got a nice breakout. This is what I was kind of like predicting yesterday, and this did end up playing out quite nicely. So that's very, very awesome to have witnessed. But I do want to call out that we're going to be watching to see if CPI launches this to 400 or if we come back down below the wedge. So far, it's holding up very nicely. It's actually broken above this, so I can actually delete this wedge. I'll keep the support though, and it's looking quite decent. So QQQ is looking strong, looks bullish, and we'll see how CPI affects it. But as of right now, it's looking quite good. Nvidia had some bad news that came out, which led to dropping as well, but it held this trend line of support. Got a little drop on it, but it's not that bad because we held support. We're trying to rebound now. We're at 469. We'll see if CPI helps Nvidia push up back towards this imbalance, back towards this 480 zone, or if we get a big rejection. My gut tells me it's going to try to push a little higher, make its way back to at least 472. And I think that this imbalance still hasn't filled up here. We could eventually make our way up higher. It is technically uptrending. We made a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and we'll see if we can make a higher high from here. CPI is going to be key, so we'll be watching to see how that affects us. As of right now, it's holding up quite decently. On Apple stock, Apple is still trying to hold up. The thing about Apple is we got this break from this rising wedge. We were talking about this earlier. So we had some more bad news. But what's good about Apple is we're still trying to hold back above this resistance. We're going to be watching 193 as resistance. A break above that could take us to 193.5, close to the breakout area. If we break this, watch 195 and then this gap fill way up here. If we break down, watch 191 as support. If we lose that, we can start sinking. But as of right now, I think that this thing is going to hold up. So CPI could launch Apple right back up to backtest this wedge at this 195 area. And it's going to depend on CPI, of course, but I think that there's a real possibility of that. So, that being said, guys, okay, my view of the market is still pretty much the same. I can't promise anything, so don't basically risk way too much. Not financial advice, but I wouldn't necessarily like go all in or risk too much money on a CPI report. Those could be risky. So you want to be very careful. But I also want to add that when it comes to CPI, I do favor the upside afterwards. I think that it might launch the market higher. I'll break down more information about why I think that. I'll be talking more about that later on. But if you want to hold through CPI, it's your choice. You can make a lot of money. If you don't want to do it, if you're scared, if you don't want to take the risk, you could just either reduce your position, make it very small, or just not even risk it. Just take profits over the next 1.5 hours. All right, so that's my warning for everyone. Have a great day. Remain calm, cool, and collected. I'll be talking more about Tesla in the market later on. Thank you, and peace out.